Hey y'all, I am Daniel Aaron, world authority on vibrant living and trainer of elite yoga teachers around the globe, and I am super excited to share something with you that's actually a bit out of the usual for me. So much of what I share with you and what I do is about energy and creating energy and vitality. Vibrant thriving, I call it, as opposed to doing okay or even wellness. Nothing wrong with doing okay or wellness, and some of us are interested in taking it to a whole nother level, vibrant thriving. So a lot of our practices, yoga, breathing, nutrition, all of that is about how do we create energy, or how do we interact with the world and ourselves in a way that creates energy. And right now, though, something I just discovered, actually, I'm really excited about. Well, I discovered a new distinction to it, or a new layer to it. Working with a group of radically awesome breathers in the Vibrant Life Breath 21-day experience. And one of their little little practices, little actions, little things that they do in order to get the most out of it, is each evening they do what I call the moon breath. And moon breath is, well, it's incredibly simple and easy. All it is, and you're welcome to do this, of course, you can do it now, and you can do it whenever you want. And it's just an even breath. And in yoga, it's related to what we'd call samavriti, which means same wave, samavriti. So it's sort of equal in and equal out. In this case, no retentions or suspensions of the breath, just breathe in and breathe out. And you actually don't even have to get technical about it and try and get it exact to the same ratio in and out. Just in a relaxed way. It can be through the nose, probably best through the nose. And the key part, and what for some of us is challenging with it, is to, excuse me, remove the pauses, or in other words, make it continuous breath. Because what happens for most of us is we breathe in, and then we hold the breath, and then we breathe out. Or vice versa, we breathe in, breathe out, and then pause. For this breath, you want it to be continuous. Now, the purpose, why am I asking people to do this, why am I suggesting they do it, is because a lot of the practices we do in the day, as I said earlier, are about creating energy, tuning into the sun energy, tuning into life and vibrancy. When it comes to evening time, a part of how we work, as much as some of us like to deny this, is we need rest. And even more than rest, integration. And why this is so important for us is on a couple levels. And I'm on fire here. There's so many cool, amazing things about this. So I'm going to breathe. And in some ways, that's actually quite accurate, because what it does is this kind of moon breath is it equalizes or grounds the excited energy that comes, the fiery energy of the sun. Now, main benefit, and the reason I'm suggesting to the breathers to do it as part of their practice, is it cultivates awareness. Right? When we breathe in that way, as we pay attention to it, like many of you have done with meditation, you take a breath and follow the breath and maybe count to 10, and for most of us, by the time we get to 3 or 4, it's like, oh, I'm already thinking about something else. So awareness with the conscious breathing brings us into the present moment. 2, integration is, I'm going to put it this way for you. As we cultivate a lot of energy coming in, we fill ourselves with it in one way, or it flows through us is another way of looking at it. And that high energy cultivation, if we are not wise about it or conscious about what we're doing with that energy, what ends up happening is it gets dispersed, it gets shot out here and there, and it can even be destructive in ways, right? So I'll skip over going into further elaboration on that. Hopefully you got the idea of what I mean. And what we do with integrating breath, and for some of you, you can think of it, it's a little bit like shavasana in yoga. All of this energy starts to move around and open up, and then when we pause, we give our system a conscious moment, conscious direction to assimilate, to make use of, to integrate. And it says, okay, all of that, and now let's use the body, spirit, mind, heart, natural system to have that energy go where it needs to go. And insight. When we breathe in this way, and another part of it, which I won't go into now, but is an automatic writing that follows that breathing. And it can also be a sharing and talking with other people about it. Because when we breathe in this way, it allows various layers of mind information to settle down and for us to tap into a greater wisdom that we don't always connect with. And then when we write it or share it, that expression also allows further distinctions to come through. So we got awareness, we got integration, and then we got insight. Now, you may have noticed I used the word enlightenment, which isn't a word that I normally love. Enlightenment implies a concept of arrival or a complete point. Now I'm enlightened. Oh, cool, all over. And it doesn't work that way. It's just not how it is. And here's the super cool thing. It would be crazy to be enlightened. It would be ridiculous, because then what? You're done. It's over. Yeah, and maybe we will choose like the Bodhisattva did and say, yes, I have attained or reached liberation, and yet I devote myself to being here now to share with everyone else, because we're not free until we're all free. None of us are free until we're all free. All right. So why did I use the word enlightenment? Here's another word that's similar. Nirvana. Everybody's heard that word, and we think of the band. My high school friend David Grohl played in that band. I'm excited about that. We're going to meet again one day. David, if you're watching, I look forward to seeing you. 2, Nirvana also, well, it's funny, we think of it oftentimes, or I did when I was a kid before I knew what the word means, we think of Nirvana as like heaven, like, oh, it's perfect, everything is great, you know, they're feeding me grapes and I'm kicked back in a lounge chair. Literally what the word means, though, nirvana, is no wind, which means, in some way, that no matter what happens out there in the world, I have a perfectly peaceful, loving center at all times. And maybe that is heaven. That does sound heavenly. No wind. So what does this have to do with moon breath and this equal breathing? Well, it's a practice in cultivating an evenness about all of life. Show you what I mean. A little story that some of you know. There was an old farmer, and this was hundreds of years ago in a feudal time period somewhere in Europe. And the old farmer, you know, as farmers do and did, lived a, you know, pretty hearty life filled with a lot of work. And he wasn't a rich farmer. It was just him and his wife and his son. And you know, they did okay, but it was a struggle for them. And anyway, one day the son was getting into his teen years and getting a little more robust and taking more responsibility. And he heads out to do the early morning chores, and you know, before sunrise on a farm, and he's out there. And anyways, something goes a little bit wrong. He's a little spaced out. Maybe he's thinking about a girl. Who knows? And then the horse gets out. Right, like he forgot to latch the door to the pen, and horse gets out, and you know, and then when by the time he realizes she's gone, And so poor guy, kid has to come to his father and say, Dad, little problem, the horse, I know we depend on it, and it's like kind of like our main tool, and like how do we ever get by without it is gone. And it's I left the door open, and his mother was right there when he said it. His mother was like, "Oh my God, what are you talking about? That's horrible!" And the father thinks about it for a minute and says, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." And so they keep doing the best they can. They're working their fields, and later in the day, a neighbor comes by. Actually, a few neighbors come by, and they hear the story from the family about the horse. And the first thing they say is like, "Oh no, that's horrible. What what?" Again, the father says, "Well, maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." Next morning, father decides to do the chores, and the boy too, and they're out there together, and father and son, and they're doing the chores, and just as the sun comes up, they look, and across the field, you know what they see? They see their horse coming toward them. And so the boy is like, "Ah, thank you, I was praying for that." And then they look, and behind the horse are 3 wild horses coming with her. And sure enough, the father and son, the horse comes all the way back up to them, because in fact they loved each other, and the other one's doing, they managed to get all 4 horses back into the corral. And in these days, like, a horse is so valuable, and to have 3 more, unbelievable luck, right? And the neighbors hear about this, and they come by again, they're like, "Oh, that's so great, I can't believe it, that's amazing." And sure enough, the father says, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." A few days go by. Father, son, mother, they're getting used to their new life with the 4 horses, and the father's working with the son to train in that industry. They call it break the horses, and while in the process, one of the horses did not want to be broken, and he threw the son off his back, resulting in the son breaking his leg. Oh my! Right. So once again, neighbors here, and they say, "What a tragedy, you broke your leg, that's so bad, how are you going to work, what's going to happen now?" Father says, you guessed it, maybe so, maybe not, we'll see. Kid is basically not able to do anything, he's just hanging out inside, and really frustrated at this point. He's like, "What is going on? First this and this," and then few more days go by, and the father's doing his best out there taking care of the fields, his wife is helping him out, and some riders approach, and the farmer's outside, and he sees them. And then as they get closer, it's a big group of them, and they are from the king's army, and they have come by to recruit everybody, every young, able-bodied young man, to go fight in a war that everybody knows they're going to lose. Guess who can't go? The son. Equal breathing without pause is a way of teaching us that actually, you know what? The winds, the changes, the vrittis, the fluctuations, the good news, the bad news, the things we want, the things we don't want, who's to say if they're good or bad? It's all the same. One of my favorite beings on the planet, Byron Katie, she says it this way: "God is good, God is everything, show me an exception." Yes, Katie. God is good, God is everything, show me an exception. Equal breathing, moon breathing. Integration, awareness, insight, and as a bonus, enlightenment. All right, y'all, thank you. I hope you are feeling lighter, and I am down with this as a verb, enlightening. Something is enlightening, and you are now enlightened. Because hopefully by just hearing this information and it assimilating inside you and some part of you saying, yeah, that makes sense. And if it doesn't, toss it aside. But if it does, yeah, that makes sense. It's possible to live that way, to be impassioned in the world, yet without attachment to things being good or bad, fully alive in every moment. All right, the moon breath of enlightenment. Thank you all for just being interested in vibrant living. How cool is that? Already you're making a difference in the world. I'm grateful to you. My name's Daniel, and I'll see you soon.